Um, yeah, so I've been feeling sick really since like Thursday night. I woke up, like I couldn't get to sleep actually Thursday night, and I was up most of the night feeling nauseous and getting chills. I haven't had a fever, but on and off since this Monday morning. Um, I've had chills and gotten cold and clammy and not feeling well. I've never had a fever. And I didn't want to go to the emergency room. They say only two if you have a fever. So I didn't want to go to the emergency room for no reason and sit with people that are sick. So anyway, there's no oncology staff available on the weekend, which is kind of fun. So I called this morning the oncology resource nurse who's supposed to call if I have any issues and explained to her, and she was like, yeah, it's probably some kind of virus you picked up from your daughter at daycare, fair enough. And we'll, just if you're feeling better, as long as you have no fever and you're eating and drinking, then it's fine. I said, okay, great. But I had also mentioned that the incision above my port, where they put my port in, so above my port, is red, and the end of it, like you can kind of feel this stitch coming out. And so anyway, she told me that the stitches don't actually dissolve, they just eventually push their way out if they need to. But last night it was really red, and I had squeezed it, and a bunch of goo came out. She didn't seem alarmed at first, but she said, like, send a photo. So I sent her a photo of a close-up of the incision. And then, because it was email, she was like, is this above your port? And I said, like, this is the incision where they put the port in. My port is below. She misunderstood and thought that it was like a picture of my port. So anyway, I don't know whether or not I'm supposed to be going to the hospital. I immediately responded, was like, no, this is the incision, and it sent her a bigger photo. So the actual port sits about an inch below the incision they put it in. I thought I was being clear, apparently it wasn't. Anyway, so she had spoken to one of the oncology doctors, not the oncologist, but like the oncology resource physicians or whatever they're called, the lower level ones. Anyway, and they were like, oh yeah, we need blood cultures from her port, and if she's been feeling sick, which is totally fair, and I'm quite happy to be doing this. The only problem is, I'm like, are we doing this because I've had chills and not feeling well and have a red incision, or do you think that this is the port that's inflamed, not the incision above it? So when she called to tell me to come to the hospital, I was like, okay, I just want to be clear here. It's not the port. It's not like last time they accessed the port and got infected. That's not the issue. So she did seem like happier with that. I'm not quite sure how, like, I could have been more explicit that, like, they know that the incision where they put the port in is above, but anyway, so, but I'm still not feeling great. I'm feeling better, but I'm still getting like waves of cold and clammy and hot. So anyway, I'm happy to go. So what they're going to do is they're going to take blood. My understanding is they're going to take blood from my arm and do a complete blood count and just check if my white blood cells are low, which they should be. I'm 10, 11 days after chemo, whatever I'm at. She said they also want to take blood from my port to check blood cultures there, which is fair. If they want to, that's fine. But I'm not sure if they're actually going to do that when they realize that it's not the port itself. So anyway, I'm just happy that I'm going to go and someone's actually going to see me in person. It's the challenge with this. Like, I get it, the resources are limited, but it's really challenging trying to have phone and email photo conversations, because this is how it gets misconstrued. So yeah, I don't quite understand how I could have been more explicit in saying it's the incision. And like, I did say the port is beneath it, and I think she thought that it was like directly under that. I meant beneath as in like an inch below. Anyway, so that's the deal. So I haven't eaten yet today, which is fine. It's 12:21. because I haven't been feeling great. So anyway, Kelly might bring me lunch later if I get stuck there forever. But again, I may get there and they're like, oh, it's not actually reported overnight. So I have no clue what's going on. I can go because this is a red light. Never mind. Sorry, I'm turning right on red. That's what I'm doing. Anyway, so this is frustrating, but this is the first time it's happened. It's round 4, so I'm happy I'm actually going to get to talk to people though, and have someone, no one, it may be part of just the chemo, and they look and see if it's okay, but no one's actually like ever seen my port incision and been like if it's healing okay. Again, I assume that's part of what the nurses do during chemo, but anyway, it looks a lot better than it did last night. It was a lot more red last night, red around. So anyway, so off to the hospital I go. I'll keep you updated. Hey, so it's Tuesday, July 8th, and I have not made a video in quite some time, and I have kind of like a 10-minute block, so I'm going to make a quick one. I did my 5th round. Well, I think the last video actually was when I was sick. So my 4th round of chemo was my first round of doxycycline, and I got really sick, and I thought it was the chemo. It turns out I was just like had some other sickness. So we did, like, I made a video when I was going to get my blood work checked. It wasn't a bacterial infection, so we think it was just some like garden variety virus I had. So that sucked. But I started feeling better, and that was good. And then I did my 5th round of chemo, which was my second doxycycline, and it was much better. So obviously I was just sick last time. Yeah, like I didn't get nauseous at all. The big things, I'm exhausted. So with my first round of chemo, I had been taking kind of like a week and a half off work before going back. The pharmacist at oncology told me that doxycycline is tolerated so much better than the FEC first one. I since found out that's not true. It is in some ways like nausea, but the nurses at oncology have been like, no, you're exhausted. So I'm a little sad that I didn't know that. I really like the pharmacist, but the nurses said she speaks with a lot of people beforehand and not as much after doxycycline, because she kind of talks to you through the first thing. Anyway, she's lovely, and it could just be my reaction. Maybe it's true that most people do. That's just not the feedback from the nurses I've heard. But because I expected it to be better, I actually said I could be back at work earlier after only 6 days off. So the first doxycycline, I was sick, so I did take 3 days off. Bless my company for having sick time, so I still got paid for it, which is lovely. Because when I initially got cancer, I hadn't been there 3 months, just because I returned after an absence to that job. So this round, I did chemo on Friday, and the next Thursday, I was scheduled to be back to work. And like I made it through my shifts Thursday, Friday, Saturday. But then Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, I've napped every day. I've been really tired. Part of it, I think it's just grating on me, it's, been a long time and it's cancer, even though I only have one chemo left and it's great. The other symptom that really sucks and isn't a symptom I would have thought would bother me as much as it is I kind of have no taste buds. They're coming back. The first round of doxycycline, it lasted like between a week to 10 days, and this time it's been 10-11 days now, and I'm still struggling. It's hard because I'm not getting the sensation of food. I'm hungry all the time, even though I'm not actually hungry. And because I'm trying to get any kind of sensation of food, I'm also like eating candy and things, trying to get like some kind of taste. But today, like this morning, I could kind of eat my toast with peanut butter and kind of taste it, so that's good. But you don't think it's going to affect you as much as it will, but it will come back. Like, that's a temporary side effect. But yeah, so chemo's just grating on me. It's funny. Yesterday I said,
I said to Kelly, like, I felt depressed and just tired. And I don't even know if it was depressed as much as just fatigue. Um, I mean, it's some depressed, but I said to him, yeah, I'm depressed and I don't even know why. And then I said, probably the cancer. Right? Like, probably the cancer. The fact that it sucks, right? Like, it sucks. And um, yeah, so I only have one chemo left, but then I'm gonna have surgery and then radiation. And it's really hard now because I'm at the point where I feel ready to start applying to jobs. I have applied to two that I would both really, really like. One of them said you have to be bilingual, so I probably won't get it, but I applied anyway just in case. Um, but I'm in this the awkward point of like, it depends on when they start, it depends on how accommodating they are. And the big question is, it depends on when radiation is going to be scheduled. I don't mean like when in the year, I mean when in the day. So, one really frustrating part that I've been told, and I'm going to call them and work with them hopefully, is that they kind of just give you the time that you have because, like, they don't want to coordinate every single person's radiation, which I totally get. But the vast majority of people with cancer are older and retired, um, or not working, and I'm working. It took quite a few rounds to get that like accommodation from oncology in Fredericton, just for appointments. At first, they were just like, "You get what you get. We can't work around you," and I'm like, "Okay, fine." But that would mean sometimes that they'd schedule my blood work in the middle of the day, and then my appointment with my oncologist during the day, and then chemo, which meant taking 3 days off work in that last week. So I've now kind of negotiated with them, like, can I just have blood work at 8 a.m.? Like, I don't work till 10, and at least then I only have to take 2 days off. I understand that the oncologist is harder, but, or if I'm meeting with the oncologist and I have to take that day off, let me have blood work earlier that day. So they have started to be accommodating of that, which is great. So, like, my blood work this week is the same day as my oncologist appointment because I have to take it off anyway. But it's the frustrating part because it's not just like blood work. Maybe I could try to do on a lunch hour, although it always takes forever. But radiation, I have to drive to another city, so it's like almost an hour, probably an hour and 20 minutes to get into the hospital in St. John. Um, and then it takes, my understanding is about like 15-20 minutes to get you like lined up on the bed properly into the right spot, and then like 3 to 5 minutes of radiation, and then you gotta drive home. Some people stay in St. John. It just doesn't make sense for me, with my toddler and everything. Like, I don't want to. Um, but it is difficult because that means there's going to be like a 3.5 hour window in the day. So if they schedule me for an earlier morning appointment, let's say they schedule me at 10 a.m., then I could work at 1, right? I'd be back home. Um, or if they schedule me at 3, I could see if I could get some of the 6 a.m. shifts, right? It's just if they schedule me at like 1 p.m., I'm going to have to sit on EI for like 4 to 6 weeks, which sucks. So, just in case this does ever go anywhere, I'm Canadian, so I do get EI sickness leave for up to 26 weeks, but it's 55% of my salary. And I'm not making as much now as I had been before just because of situations. But luckily, because I have the two part-time jobs, because the comedy club is an corporation that I'm an employee of, like I do, I'll have something. At least it won't be no pay, which is good. So I do have up to 26 weeks of sickness EI, which is good because if radiation sucks, I'm sure my doctor will let me have a few weeks afterwards, especially because, like, just coping with cancer, like, most people just get the 26 weeks. I just want it to work. So we'll see how this goes. So it may just be that I have to be on EI, but that sucks. But anyway, so that's kind of where I'm at now. So next Tuesday will be the 15th of July, and that day I will have my blood work, and I will meet with one of the oncologists, not mine, but one of the oncologists who, as long as my blood work is good, will write my chemo orders, essentially prescribe it. At that point, we know that unless something massive happens and I get sick, which would be very, weird, my last chemo will be July 18th. So I'm going to call my surgeon's office at that point and say, hey, like, will be my last chemo, because they don't want to schedule any of the surgery appointments until they know your last chemo, because if your blood work is bad, it can get bumped. So at that point, I'm just going to call and be like, hey, can we start making plans? The last time I spoke with their office, they said that usually they see you about a week after your chemo. Sometimes a little more if you're sick, but I mean, I feel fine to go to an appointment. So I'm hoping that I'll get an appointment right away, and then they'll schedule my surgery. It'll be 3 to 6 weeks after my last chemo, just again, depending on blood work. But because I'm on the injection, which I can't remember the name of, Lepenja, something like that, that helps my body make white blood cells. Because I'm on that, my blood work's been fine the last 2 times. So hopefully by 3 weeks it should be totally fine. So it means sometime really in the last 3 weeks of August I'll have my mastectomy. I haven't even gotten to talk to them about it, but their office has said that due to the size of my tumor, a mastectomy is something I can, if I wanted a lumpectomy, I could request it. It's my body, but I want a mastectomy. So anyway, and we'll find out then any kind of guess of how many lymph nodes. He probably won't know until he gets in there, but anyway, that's my update. Bye.